What's going, guys? Aarava here. Welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode number 29 today. And we've got your usual hosts, myself, Arav, Callum, and Tom. So we finally got us three all together back again after 2 weeks of one and the other not being here. But yeah, we've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, in a kind of off-week podcast, no race this weekend. So we're just talking about news in Formula 1. There's been plenty of it. Should we start with the big one? Nico Hulkenberg to Renault. What do you think about that, guys? What do you think about that?
Big boy move. Absolute big boy move for him because we've actually frequently had this conversation before talking about Renault. And Renault are that weird team where everyone seems to think that they might pull something out of the bag for 2017. And I've questioned that, but I think it's nothing to lose for Hulkenberg at all there.
Absolute baller. This is going to be a move we look back on in 2 years' time and say, that guy is a genius. Similar to what Lewis Hamilton did with Mercedes. Same sort of thing. Renault are a factory works team with loads of money to spend, with big ambitions into the hybrid future project. And Hulkenberg's that guy who, for so many years, has been tipped for a top seat, never got it. And this is the first season when no one's talked about him getting a top seat. And then out of nowhere, he's just gone straight to the Renault seat, which was rumoured to be Perez actually going into that seat for quite a couple of months, and then out of nowhere, it's just gone Hulkenberg swooped in. Obviously, you know, I can understand it's easy to confuse Hulkenberg and Perez visually; they look quite similar. So obviously, all those news reports, obviously, they meant Hulkenberg, but they just, you know, they got mixed up a bit.
I mean, Mexico and Germany are very similar countries.
Yeah, the flags
really.
are so different. The flags are so similar.
Honestly, I get confused as well. Like, you just look at me and think, yeah.
Well, Croft seems to get them confused all the time, so anyone
exactly.
must be able
It's
to.
Perez going,
exactly.
oh no, it's Hulkenberg going on the inside.
Yeah, but on a real note, it is a very, very good... Because he's got literally, I think motorsport.com literally went, there's nothing to lose out of this, because Force India, if we have like a general thought on this, do we see them making a big step for 2017?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, okay, yes, Renault aren't very good right now, but they can only go up from here. Force India sort of hit this kind of paywall, basically, of like, they just don't have enough funding. They're just not that sort of team that's built, basically, with the infrastructure to make the break into like a top 4, top 3 team. Whereas Renault, you know, they've been there before. Yes, they've taken a high tumble, but, you know, their plan was, I think, in 5 years' time to be winning races. So, like Tom said, you know, in a few years' time, we could be...
Yeah,
we could be
just the money flying.
Tom's doing a really nice job this podcast, visually giving us representation. He did the swoop thing with his hands earlier, you know, swooped under everything. So yeah, in a few years' time, Hulkenberg will probably just be laughing all the way to the hopefully the bank for his sake, because as Tom's chucking probably his life savings at the monitor. So yeah, I mean, the fact that Renault can only go up from here is just a plus for Hulkenberg. Yes, maybe next year. Tom said that they might bring something big out. That's speculation. I don't think they'll bring anything big out for next year necessarily. But even if he feels a bit of pain going into next year, I think any of that will be dissolved if Renault pick up the pace then in 2018, 2019, 2020.
Well, look at Renault's end of the season at the minute. They're really starting to pick up. We see, obviously, getting into the points here and there, decent qualifyings. They have started... I think Jolyon Palmer has been saying that there's been a kind of belief that there's some sort of raise in the hopes in Renault. Obviously, Palmer's sitting there going, hold on, everyone's getting excited and I'm out the door. It's looking like we're out the door at the minute. But no, like Renault are starting to kind of find their way at the moment. Obviously, the engines kind of don't really factor in at the minute because all the engines are reasonably similar performance. So it will be a focus, because obviously we've seen every era of Formula 1. It's aero, engine. And now we're back to aero again. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Renault come back. But again, there's always a flip side. Hulkenberg, it's another sideways move if Renault don't perform.
Yeah.
Which will be a very sad shame, because that'll probably be the end of his career, more than likely.
Well, this is his last chance.
How old is he? 27? 28?
He's something like that. It's all I know is he's getting on to the second half of his career, basically.
Like, it hasn't got
getting to that
many years left. And the thing is, obviously, a driver like that is going to get elbowed out eventually by the younger drivers. Not as much as like a world champion stays around quite a while. Look at Raikkonen, look at Button, but a driver like that who hasn't won a race and just was that prospect, obviously still takes a while to get rid of. I kind of feel like Bottas is going to be like that, where it's going to be a while before we can probably see him go. But you just hope. I think we all hope, because Hulkenberg's just been that driver where it was like, come on, give him a good seat and let's see what he can do, because he has switched it on before.
Give Hulkenberg one more year. Go on, give him one more year.
And it's. I think that's a very good move for Renault.
Hashtag give him one more year.
Hashtag it.
Give him a year. Give him.
On the flip side, who will be his teammate?
That's an interesting one. I think Hulkenberg Palmer, elite partnership. I jokingly tweeted about that. A few people thought I was serious.
Renault Sport F1 team, Nico Hulkenberg, and the main driver, Julian fucking Palmer. Imagine
that should
it,
be.
literally.
You know how it goes next to his cockpit, just Julian fucking Palmer. That would just be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few candidates. Obviously, FizzyFan91 on Twitter was about to commit if it wouldn't be K-Mag.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the name Esteban Ocon. And then you've also got, obviously, Julian Palmer. But we'll see. We'll see about that. I think any other drivers that are shortlisted for that seat?
I think it'll just be K-Mag, to be honest. I think he's done a solid job. I think
he's had a good season.
I think the team like him. He's got the most
I
points
will
for
say,
this year.
I think it would be K-Mag, but I would not be surprised if neither are there next season.
So
because I spoke to Yuka about this yesterday. I'm just getting that vibe. They're not mad fans of Magnussen either. It's not like because they would have announced something by now. So I feel like they're both a bit.
If you like to drive that, what you're trying to say is if they like to drive that much, then they would have announced it earlier.
If they were convinced on someone.
They're still I think maybe they're still weighing up their options. Like they're not announcing anything apart from obviously getting Hulkenberg. So I think they're for both of the drivers, they're kind of equally like we'll see till the end of the season. If a big driver that we do want to sign comes up, we will announce him straight away. But for now,
well, if you think about other drivers, who else could be there? Because obviously we can axe out a few names. Like I know Bottas won't go because if he wants a season, I think he wants a singular season in 2017 to see if Williams are any good, and then dictate whether
business,
or not.
Apparently, I think it was. He was quoted to say a month ago, something like that. And then also going on to Williams, I think because that was also another big news. The biggest pay driver ever. He's apparently going to pay more than Maldonado did to get into Lotus or Williams,
and not just more, almost double.
Almost double, was it?
Almost double.
I knew it was a lot more. Almost double, yeah, that's crazy. The main man, Stroll. So,
he better be good if he's bloody paying that much.
I mean, he won today again, so.
I know, but
I think it's more of a case of he's a good driver, but if we weren't talking money, it would still be a year or two before he got into F1. So he's sort of using the money to fast track himself. And basically,
I kind of have a feeling,
I think he's hoping and bagging on the fact that he can maybe then perform and show that he is good enough. He doesn't need the money continuously coming in to.
I have a feeling though, if he comes into the team, I think Bottas will walk all over him. It's not like it is in the fact that Verstappen goes to Red Bull and everyone thinks that he's going to be bad, but he still performs quite well. It's not that he's not that good because I've never really heard of him, to be honest. So maybe I'm making the wrong kind of decision on him. But
it might have something to do with the fact he's 17 and races in Formula Bloody 4.
But that's the thing,
very young.
I don't know. He's just not been that driver because I think maybe Verstappen was that driver. He hasn't. Been
I never heard of
Verstappen
Verstappen before he came into Formula 1.
Yeah,
to be honest with
I
you.
heard about him in F3.
You
heard about him all through 2015 because it was almost a year hype before.
Yeah, of course you heard of him for all 2015 because he was probably racing on Toro Rosso that season.
2014, sorry. I was trying to think. It was Suzuka, wasn't it? It was Suzuka where he had his FP1 debut when his engine blew up, because I remember seeing the video on Facebook. Apologies for that. But, yeah, you hear him throughout 2014 because he was like, oh, look at this driver.
Tom, did you hear of Lewis Hamilton throughout last year?
I
didn't know this kid. This child contender.
Go enter another phone call.
Tom. I didn't know this child contender. Do you hear about that German who's recently come in and is winning everything? Rosberg. I didn't hear of him.
Yeah. Wrong year.
We're very professional here.
Okay.
Pitlane Podcast.
When are we ever professional? Let's be honest.
When are we ever professional? No. It's about time I answer. Is it Q for me to answer a phone call now? I don't know. Okay. So Williams. So if it's going to be Stroll and Bottas, so then we've got Hulkenberg and possibly Ocon or Magnussen. We're going to basically factor out Palmer.
Yeah.
So the only other teams really that are yet to announce are Toro Rosso. What have Toro Rosso said?
Toro Rosso said nothing. We know. I think pretty sure
We're
we know.
waiting on
I think we know
one.
Sainz is there. But we don't know about Kvyat.
Sainz is there.
Well,
We're
yeah,
just
because
waiting.
Sainz has been saying in press conferences that he's just been like, right, we'll wait till next year, wait till next year, wait till next year. He's
We
been
have
very...
I think it'll be
A seat-
Gasly. I think it'll be
We have
Gasly.
a seat in Force India, a seat in Toro Rosso.
That's interesting. Who would be
I
at
wanna
Force
say-
India?
I want to say
I think
2 seats in Haas, but I think Grosjean, even though it hasn't been official, I think
Grosjean's
what am I saying? No,
staying.
sorry, 1 in Haas because Grosjean's staying. Gutierrez,
Gutierrez
I think he's
I think he's done
doubtful,
enough.
but I think he probably will stay. Yeah, I think he'll probably stay. There's 2 at Manor.
Ignore his little Japan incident.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean Haas. I meant 2 seats in Sauber. Sorry,
there's always 2 seats in Sauber.
because
Yeah.
it's just an interesting one. I don't know. Sauber's like a very grey sort of team because you don't know what their ambitions are for next year, what their car is going
I
to look
think-
like,
I
what
wouldn't be
they're striving to
surprised if they didn't
achieve,
have
what
2
drivers
new
they
drivers.
want.
They're still just looking for
I've
people
read-
with money. So
I've read Ericsson could still be there, but we'll have to wait and see. For Force India, I think it's Verline is getting promoted.
Verline.
I've read.
It's a
that he's
decent
going up.
switch.
it's a
Well, actually,
decent
that'd
climb on
be-
the ladder. It's a decent climb
That
on the
would
ladder.
be...
Like, you're talking about
But do you know
progression.
what the problem is? The issue I see with it is just because we literally just spoke about the fact that what's Force India going to do for 2017? It's almost like, if any of you could have had a chance in the 2016 car to see how they would have done. Because I almost feel like Force India are going to take a slight step back a little bit. I just have this feeling that the past couple of years they've had good steps forward, but obviously we're talking about budget. I kind of feel like they're going to run out of money.
disagree. I completely
I don't
disagree.
know.
They've basically put hardly no work into this year's car. They've still got results, and they're actually going to get 4th in the constructors, in my opinion. So
I still
I don't
think
think
They're
they're
gonna
going to get the money in
plenty of
2
money
years'
to burn.
time.
for Verline, I don't think Verline cares if they're going forward or backwards. At least
Yeah,
it's a chance to
exactly.
fight for
It's
points.
still going to be a step up from
It's a
Manor,
chance
obviously,
to fight
but...
for points, so.
Again,
think-
to be fair though, it's a decent driver to go up against. Like Sergio Perez is one of the hottest
Yeah.
drivers in midfield for the top team to get on. Like he's probably higher than what a Hulkenberg or a Bottas ever was. Really now,
I think
so-
so. Yeah, in terms of consistency.
yeah,
in terms of just expectation as well. Obviously, decent podiums. Putting Verline up against him,
Yeah.
we'll
I
get to
could
see
see
what
Ocon
Verline's true
will
potential
stay in
is.
Manor for me. Ocon. I've read Renault are not really
Too
keen on.
Right.
No, it's a question of either Palmer or Magnussen stay. Ocon staying
I
put in
personally
Manor.
think K-Mag will stay in the end.
And I think, based on what I've read, Haryanto could be back.
Here's a thought for you: Palmer to Manor.
Nah,
Honestly,
Palmer.
is he gone or is he getting one last chance?
No, he's gone.
Because who would be at Manor
Haryanto's
then?
coming back to F1. I've read that he's got the funds he needs now.
I don't even want him back.
So what? It's going to be Ocon
Honestly.
and Haryanto.
Yeah, from
Right.
what I've read.
I'm almost thinking that Ocon might be at Renault. I don't know. I have a feeling just because of the fact that French on French. I don't know. I have a feeling
French
that
on
that
French
just might
toast.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, if Renault progressing up the grid and they've got Mercedes driver in the ranks, Mercedes will be a bit like,
Then again, it is quite a weird move for Ocon to go to Renault when he's got this whole Mercedes link. I don't know where it...
Yeah.
Because everyone just...
He's
it's kind of the
tested-
two...
It's because he's tested in Renault
don't know.
before because he does have that French link, and Mercedes have been okay with him testing with Renault in the past. But if it's like if we're talking like you're actually racing against us or racing against the field in a Renault, like maybe there
Yeah.
might be
Mercedes will take priority
So
So
over
basically,
I feel
Mercedes
like
don't want their own driver
not in a
racing
racing
against
sense,
them.
literally just brand marketing. Like they'll be like, we don't want brand confusion. He is a Mercedes young driver or something.
Exactly,
So
that's
no.
my view.
Which
Yeah.
is why
I
Verline's
still
a
think
perfect
K-Mag will
Mercedes
get it. I
driver.
think K-Mag's done enough to be
Yeah.
honest, I think.
Yeah, I think he will. I hope so. K-Mag and Hulkenberg's
That's a tasty
solid
lineup.
8.5 out of 10 lineup.
That's
for
Well,
me.
that's the thing with drivers and promoting them through these younger teams is the fact that almost Red Bull kind of have the better way because Red Bull's not focused on nationality. It's focused just on their driver program. Whereas you look at Mercedes and Renault or whoever are trying to promote drivers, Italians for Ferrari will do well, as in there won't be any brand confusion. Look at Verline. Verline's a perfect Mercedes driver. German. He's being promoted through like being powered by a German engine. It's perfect that way. But just actually focusing on the Red Bull Driver Academy, we've spoken about this quite a bit. Pierre Gasly gets a chance to drive the Red Bull in Abu Dhabi. I think it was yesterday on the 14th to do the whole.
Today,
look at
tomorrow.
and today. I don't know how long the
3 days.
test is, but I think that's a decent chance of Pierre Gasly. I know they're not going to be doing much of lap time work, but I don't know. I got a slight sense that at least Pierre Gasly's been given the chance to just have a go in the higher car, just to see. It's kind of like what other driver would go in the car.
I don't know where. Seat, to be honest. I think if he gets out,
I honestly think he's got the seat, because why would you put that like Pierre? Because that's perfect experience, really, for next year as well, and the tyres. He's almost kind of got that. I don't know. I've just got this feeling. I can't really explain it, but I've got this feeling that by Red Bull putting Pierre Gasly in the Abu Dhabi test, I just have a feeling that Pierre Gasly's got the seat for Toro Rosso.
I just think he's got it anyway. Because as much as I've enjoyed Kvyat getting a bit in better spirit as of late, feeling a bit chirpy about himself in conferences and like driving a little bit better. It just seems very logical. Just, he's doing so well in GP2. It just seems logical to promote him now.
There's no one else, is he?
It's game over for Kvyat, basically.
Yeah.
But apart from Kvyat and
no,
Gasly,
I don't believe
no one else,
there's anyone prominent.
There's no one
in
tipped
the Red Bull.
for the seat.
There's no one prominently in the Red Bull Academy that would be a logical option.
No. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, for that exact reason, they might give Kvyat one more chance.
It's so harsh on Kvyat, though, if he gets booted out.
Because he's sort of just put in a couple of performances of late where you just got to reconsider it. I mean, he's beaten Sainz a couple of times, and for that exact reason, there's no one else other than Gasly waiting in the wings. Similar to McLaren with Van Dorn, they can afford to push it back a year or two if need be.
I think they're going to probably push it back a year. I think.
I do agree. Gasly has got his name written on the seat, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kvyat gets given one more year, one more chance.
It's like
I think
strange.
that you know what will make the difference here of the year is if Gasly ends up winning GP2.
That'll be a huge thing. Yeah,
he's 7 points behind Giovinazzi. If he ends up going to win it, then Red Bull have got an issue, because then I don't think Gasly wants to literally sit out a year.
That's what Van Dorn.
No, but he was just saying GP2 another year.
No,
you can't stay as a champion. You can't go back into GP2. Once you're a champion, you can't go back.
Look at Van Dorn.
I never knew that.
Van Dorn was out for an entire year. It was out of a seat for an entire year because he won it. And well, then again, Arif, that's what McLaren did.
Van Dorn did it, but the thing is, the Red Bull program, I feel, is a lot like McLaren don't have a program. McLaren's not a young driver program.
Yeah, they're just like, he's mine.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, he's mine. Yeah, he's mine. They're under the McLaren umbrella. But there's no like program where it's like, you signed a contract, you're in our program, get out or get in.
Yeah, and from a very early age as well.
I just.
Yeah. I don't think they'll let, because
I think Red Bull
they have a reputation of promoting drivers quickly.
And also I just think Red Bull like Gasly a lot. I think they do like Gasly a lot, and I think that if he does end up winning, there's enough argument to put him in the car straight away.
We're talking about man like Gio, then. So if he wins
man like Gio, yeah.
Does a few eyes get pointed towards the Haas seat?
Maybe.
Why?
Because he tested for Ferrari earlier in the season. He did some simulator work.
Yeah.
Giovinazzi has been linked.
He's
with
Italian,
the Haas seat.
obviously, so it'd be
that's
nice.
That is very far though. At least
it is very
season.
very far. It is very very far fetched. Because ultimately,
that's like lottery
but if they win it,
if
he wins it,
Haas isn't controlled by Ferrari as much as like Toro Rosso is by Red Bull. But
then again, we've been speaking about Verline and Force India. It's basically the exact same control, really. It's in the sense.
No, but that switch is more natural because there's a seat there for Verline to go into. It's not really.
Well, there might be.
On the other hand,
Gutierrez doesn't have a contract, does he?
He doesn't have a contract. He's not been offered one yet. So there is this.
No, but we don't know. How can I put it? We know Hulkenberg's gone, but we don't know Gutierrez is gone.
Yeah,
So
but I
right
don't think
now,
we'll know
that
if
seat's
Gutierrez is
filled.
gone until someone else is linked and signed for that seat. I think that's the thing.
I
think we're-
don't think Gutierrez is the sort of driver where he'll announce he's signed for a new team. Like
There
it will be a
isn't a
case
team
of
for him to
it'll
be
be a case
signed
of
to.
oh no, I've been pushed out by this driver. Okay, I need to quickly get a new team.
Well, there isn't another seat for Gutierrez on,
Well,
on the grid.
I'm not.
It's
I don't think
it's a far
that's
thought.
just a bit left field.
We're just thinking on the fly here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is left field.
If he did win, it would be equally. I feel like it would be a shame for Antonio just to be out for a year because I think him and Gasly are on equal terms in terms of talent. So
Hashtag put them both into Rosso.
Well, I've always been I've always said about Sainz, I'm still fearful about. his
Yeah,
future
I
at
am
the
fearful,
minute.
but yeah, because saying what Tom said, Sainz is still really solid driver. He's got so much potential still that I just feel like he's not being able to show in a top car. So
He's in the log jam.
it's it's that classic sort of Toro Rosso thing, but also that classic GP2 bottleneck where, unfortunately, this year we have two drivers who are battling for the championship GP2 that could be fit enough to walk into F1 teams if there was a seat available, but there's just not. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
And that's this week of
Driver transfer news.
driver transfers, and maybe
So-
we can
Tune
move on.
in next week to find
the-
out what other news we may have available for you.
So
And now we're moving on to the beefy media topic.
we move on to the media talk, which we promised we would talk about in this podcast because we didn't have time last week. So, Fleet Street. If you didn't know the story, okay, I'll lay out the story and then we'll get into the kind of backlash. So, press conference comes. Obviously, okay. Before that, at the end of Malaysia, Hamilton, in the moment, said something about, someone is doing this. I'm the only Mercedes engine that's blowing up. And he said someone at the time, and people started speculating like, "Oh, what's happening? Like conspiracy." And then obviously later on, they tried to diffuse the situation with. I think Hamilton said it was like he meant like in a spiritual way, like someone out there.
It's in like God.
Yeah, just
or
like
something like that.
it's just not in the fates,
Yeah.
the gods of fate of F1 just don't want him to win this thing. And then him and Mercedes did all this promo stuff like, here's my team, here's my engineers, here's my PR crew, like thanking all of them. And then we go to Japan, and Tom was brilliantly mimicking what happened in the press conference, which is very, very dull, by the way. I've watched some of them live, unfortunately. But yeah, Hamilton took his phone
Got anything
out,
better to do with your
like
life?
Cal and Tom are doing. Firstly, he started videoing the crew and panned his phone around and took a little Snapchat of that. Then he did eventually later on a little selfie with the bunny filter. Did it on himself. Did it on Sainz, and then also Raikkonen as well.
He was not impressed.
Sainz was. I think
was
Sainz
like-
enjoyed the banter a little
Sainz
bit.
was because he's young and he actually
Yeah,
gets
Sainz
technology.
enjoyed the banter a little
Raikkonen's
bit.
just like, what the fuck is
and
this?
then right
No,
towards the end of-
Raikkonen literally was just like,
Well, Raikkonen
Bah.
was just asleep,
Yeah.
looking forwards. And then at the end of the conference, Hamilton was still looking at his phone, and then one of the reporters asked, like, "Can you maybe share what's on your phone there? Like, if it's so interesting." Like, he was like, "Yeah, I'm just looking at some photos. It's it's funny, blah blah." And then, yeah, he basically just gave the media a hard shoulder because then they asked, "What are you thinking about last race?" And Hamilton just said, "Well, if my fans really want to know, they can just check my Instagram."
Check
you
me
know?
He literally just like, wait, check my Instagram.
Which I thought was hilarious. He just slapped them in the face, and that's brilliant. Because literally, it just does show, all this stuff about getting media out and, the press is quite a big part of it. But really, if true fans really do want to know what he's thinking about, they can literally just go to his Instagram.
Yeah.
24 hours, 48 hours before the press put their article out. So then Hamilton went on Saturday then, after hearing all the journalists complain on Twitter, which was really petty, by the way. They were feeling the way the tone they were tweeting in felt so entitled. It was just amazing. It was amazing. It was like, no, we're the written
comedy
press.
gold,
We deserve
yeah.
more than the online space of media. Blah 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 blah. Like, who the fuck
Yeah.
is reading newspapers? Really, honestly, just 50-year-olds. No one else my age reads newspapers really that often. It's all on your phone. So
I would have loved someone Hamilton just to go, sorry, who are you?
I would have See,
yeah.
the thing is, like everyone knows, like I've never been a fan of Hamilton, but I've like over the last 3 years, I've stopped hating him as much, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care about him too much. But I was a +1 on his side after the way he handled, like just the way he was just backhanding all of them. And then he did it more on Saturday, because on Saturday in the Mercedes little like private press conference, which I believe is not like a thing where he's obliged to actually stay. It's hosted by Mercedes. So I think the only one he pissed off was really Mercedes, really, in terms of actual contractual obligations. Whereas I think the drivers are sort of paid to be at that press conference for the FIA on Thursday. But yeah, on Saturday after qualifying, he just said, "Yeah, you're all smiling right now. You won't be in a sec because I'm not going to answer your questions. A few of you know who you are, or you know who you are that support me properly, but the others didn't. And so yeah, I don't want to answer your questions." And he just left. Reporters again were tweeting that he stormed out. That's not the case. Apparently he just walked out after saying, "Yeah, I'm just not going to answer your questions." But they obviously have to spin. He walked out. He was just fucking there.
That's the problem with modern day media, and if any of you guys have saw, I think you two have saw the Will Buxton thing. If any of you guys who don't know, Will Buxton was the old GP2 commentator and GP3, and now he's just more of a Formula One journalist. I think he works for NBC.
Guy. I really like him.
I like him. He's got some good opinions and everything. The way he presents is a little bit strange, but I'm not going to comment on that. But what he was basically saying was the fact that the media in Formula One and the way that the media revolves around the sport is about 20 years out of date.
Yeah.
And it's only we've spoken about this countless amount of times on this podcast, saying, "Oh, we need to integrate social media," and this is why it made me laugh when these reporters were bitching about the fact that social media shouldn't have a one-up, whilst actually bitching on social media. It completely defeats your point. It's like, oh, why is social media taking over? I know what to do. I'll vent the fact that I hate social media on social media. You're defeating your whole point there. But honestly, at the minute, social media is the king of everything at the minute. I'm currently studying media at A-level, and I get to see the fact that just all media dominates the world. And the fact that instant media, instant news is basically the king at the moment. You see it on TV, and now we're getting it to our phones, Twitter, Facebook. We're getting everything directly fed to us. And just the fact that these news reporters that are getting this information to put in the newspapers for tomorrow, that's out of date already.
That's their fault. That's
outdated.
Like, they're complaining about their own job, basically. They're not actually, if you think about it, they don't know it. They can't see it for some reason. But they're just complaining about the job they're in because they're not in the online space. And also, I think that's another thing Will Buxton brought up, is the fact that also the reason why it's so outdated, this very way they do the press conference, is because it's shot live to the TV feeds. The reporters inside won't ask any nice, interesting, good, juicy questions because online feed will get it straight away. So everyone who's watching will know straight away the answer. Anyone at home who's doing these online websites will be able to watch it, will be able to get the answer straight away, upload it onto their website within 5 minutes flat, and then the reporters are left there writing it down on their stupid little notepad and be like, "Oh yeah, I'll print this out in tomorrow's paper," and they've not got the jump on it. So they don't ask any interesting questions. So that's also another thing. Why is it even broadcast in the first place? And if they do want to do something like that, don't get the reporters in, like Hamilton said, and like Buxton actually said as well. It might be a good thing to bring some fan questions in, maybe filter them a little bit, like read through them first, then submit them. But it would be a better live event, and then just have a boring offline, non-live event for the reporters that don't want their stories nicked.
Yeah, some of the questions that get asked are just so like, "Oh, how do you think the train's going to be after being recently tarmacked?" I don't know, until I drive, I don't really know, do I? Do you know what I mean? I think it's a bit slippery for turn two,
honestly, with this whole situation, it's just the fact that people need to realise that the times have moved on. The world is ever evolving. Like, bloody hell, the internet has moved on. It moves on so quickly in 5 years, let alone 20. And the fact that we've been stuck in this little kind of zone where obviously we're always waiting.
Time machine.
Yeah, we're stuck in this time machine where we need to sit 6 drivers down, and we need to sit 4 team principals down, and we need to ask them not even remotely interesting questions. And this is the thing, and this is why I like the fan idea, is the fact that you see this with YouTube. fans like getting involved. They like the opportunity to possibly get shouted out or even just remotely acknowledged by someone that they admire. You see it throughout YouTube. People doing like Q&As on YouTube. Oh, give us in questions. And then if they see it on their screen, it's like, whoa, that's been shouted out. And that's just the way the world works.
Exactly
like that. And putting
on
hashtags onto the car as well, getting fans involved, and then we're praising stuff like COTA, like their Twitter account, with like inter-team stuff between like Mercedes and Renault having. And this is the thing, people like getting involved. Some 60-year-old reporter sitting there going, "Oh, how did you think the track was last year compared to this? How do you think?" No one finds this interesting, and obviously the only reason it gets live broadcast is just because Sky just going, "Oh, sod it, we'll live broadcast it."
Martin Brundle brought up. Go on.
All right, I was going to say, Cal, do you own a Rolex?
No.
Well, shut the fuck up then and don't comment on the sport.
Go away. Do you use DHL? No? Piss off.
Shush.
That's the thing. This is F1
It was Brundle brought
audience.
up about the broadcasting. Brundle also did a pretty good article. He was like, obviously in this day and age, there's also a demand for just more and more content on the TV channel. So that's why they live broadcast it, because they need a bit more content. They're like, yeah, just slap it on TV and there'll be a bit more content for people to watch if they're at home, able to watch it on a Thursday.
Boring.
And it's, and then you just end up, reporters just asking sometimes the stupidest questions like, "Oh, so after Malaysia, how are you feeling about that?" It's like, well, obviously he's ticked off and he's said it on social media.
The thing is, though, do you know when they do this six-person driver conference and everything?
Yeah.
The thing is, they do it individually outside. Like, they literally do like a proper team briefing, like not team interview thing outside there. You know, the little pen where they do like all their team sponsors behind them.
Yeah.
Or just going into the pen on Thursday. They've already said everything that they need to say by that point.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
just,
all the drivers have been basically like stripped of all the information they've learned in the space of a week.
And also because
bloody hell, like a back-to-back race, what are they going to learn in 4 days?
Because you're there, also sat there, I'm guessing big production cameras like right in front of your lights, everything. You're sat down this little like official pedestal. You're going to be a bit more closed off. You're not going to feel very relaxed. You're going to literally feel like you're at work. You're at work here, just sat down with fellow colleagues, and you need to give like some really nice straight PR answers. Whereas when you're like chilled out, you're outside, quick little, can we have a little one-liner, Lewis, or one-liner here, blah, 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 Carlos, or something like that. They'll be a little more relaxed, and they'll actually give you an answer people care about.
I think I like, I'd love it if one day, literally the idea you just put out there of, the whole, when someone's publicly vented on social media that they're frustrated about, let's say, Hamilton and after what happened in Malaysia, then the reporters at the very next race asking in the press conference, "So, how do you feel after that?" And you're saying about, well, I mean, you only spoke about social media anyway. You might as well just go like, "Oh, at Lewis Hamilton." Go check my Twitter.
That's also the thing as well. Obviously, we know the infamous Ask Crofty. To be fair, the actual concept behind it is quite clever. The only two things that need to change is the fact that it shouldn't be a presenter like Crofty, and they should get drivers in.
Yeah,
like literally, go, we've managed to grab hold of a driver for 10 seconds. Like 10 seconds, like we've got James from Salford says, and just literally answer that, because it's just what the direct fans want to know.
People were saying that's the reason the fan forum's there. It's not televised. The fan forum's not televised. That's the thing. Why not just televise that and put it in the hour slot instead of the press conference, and then let the boring press people who write in the non-existent who cares times, do a interview thing in a dark room that's not televised, and they can get their exclusive juicy questions in for tomorrow's press, which will probably already be blown out by the previous night's online stuff.
Well, we see all the videos on Facebook and Twitter with like the drivers that sat down in front of a huge crowd of fans, answering and having a good time, actually proper just questions. And you get like, "Oh, yeah, what about this? And what about this?" And it's just like, and they ask personal questions as well. Like, I think Hamilton was speaking about, I don't know, something about Japan. Like, he was just like, "Oh, what do you think about Japan?" And they're just like, "I absolutely love the fact that you guys all come out with like a DRS flap and all that bollocks," because it's just directly touching to the fans. And the people that sat there and said that Hamilton was being disrespectful for being on his phone, the only issue is, I think them same people are kind of the same people that are still stuck in that loop.
Well, also that, but
or Hamilton fans.
Maybe they just work in the industry as well, and it's like a case of, okay, yeah, I get it. If you were maybe interviewing someone, you wouldn't want them to be on their phone while you're being interviewed. But the thing is, also at the same time, you've got to have some outside perspective, even if it is your job. So you want to take it seriously. Take out some outside perspective. Your job, what you're being asked to do. Just realize how just useless it is in terms of like you're asking the same question that Lewis could have answered easily on Instagram, or did answer, or last race, or could just do online. So it is a bit of a just scrap the press conference. Just scrap that press conference.
Overall, I just feel like we can go on a loop about this for ages. I think we've spoken about how F1's stuck in the past.
Yeah, we're going to get dangerously
for quite a while.
close to that sort of debate,
but it does sort of bring us on quite nicely to the next race, and just sort of talking about, obviously you know what the questions are going to consist of in the Thursday press conference, and my betting money would be that Rosberg will be in there and he'll be asked numerous times about, is he thinking about the World Championship with only 3 more races to go? And the answer is...
Same answer.
That's
He'll
the thing
say
that
the same
frustrates me.
answer he said to everyone for the last 16 races. I just take it race by race. That's just the way I do it.
Play a little game with you two. Okay, so let's say you're coming into a race weekend. What main question is asked to the drivers for Singapore?
What are you having for dinner tomorrow?
The same question gets asked every single year.
It's like, so how are you guys training for this, to cope with the humidity and the conditions?
Are you going to freeze in the race on Sunday?
They've been answering these same questions since 2008 about Singapore. Why have they not... Literally, because if you went to... I remember watching a Vettel interview in 2014, and they go, oh, what's so special about... Singapore, and it's like, oh, it's humidity, it's humidity. Oh, Malaysia, oh, it might rain. Oh, no, it might rain really heavily. Every time, it's the exact... Monaco, oh, you've got to be very good around here.
You might think, okay, so there might be some people saying, but, some people might not know about that stuff. But honestly... Only the people actually are already fans of F1 are going to care enough to find these interviews and watch them.
Exactly.
So ask actual questions that we don't know about, because if they are casual, they'll never get to that interview. They'll just be reading, guess what? Yeah. The Times with the boring ass stuff. That's also another thing. That's also a big part of maybe why casuals don't get into the sport enough. Yes, you've got the online stuff that we don't do enough, so that will help get younger audiences in, but we could still also get older casuals back into the sport, or into the sport they're not into, by just simply making the articles they're reading in the newspapers that they still buy more interesting. If we allow the press to have a separate thing, not televised, they can get their juicy exclusives, and they'll allow everyone to be happy.
But I'll continue on, because we're going back and sort of swooping back to the same point. Obviously people are going to be asking Rosberg about whether he can win the World Championship, and I want to ask you two, do you think he could do it this year?
I think he's got it.
Done enough?
I think he's got it.
You think he's got it already?
I don't think he's got it.
He's got it. Asterisk. If he retires once or finishes lower than 5th, I don't think he can come back from that.
I don't know.
What?
I think
that's like saying.
Basically, I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna win the lottery. In asterisk, I won't never get the wrong number.
No. Okay, I did just say that. In terms of I think in just terms of he's got it, but like everyone said, it's in his own hands. So he just needs to not bottle it. Just don't bottle it.
Right. Okay. That's better.
Just don't bottle it. And he needs to hope that Mercedes don't have an engine failure in his car.
I think you mean to eat a bit of humble pie because I say you and me, but I think did we all predict Hamilton to win the World Championship?
I think we all did.
Yes,
I think we all did.
We need to go back, but
I think it's like a slice of humble pie, but it sort of isn't a slice of humble pie because.
Well, the thing is,
looking at the whole season, Hamilton's been the better driver, but Rosberg's had the more reliability.
Yeah, but then that's just going to trigger fans.
Because that's just F1. Like you can't start saying. You can't start picking on the argument like that, because it is also about the car. It is also equally about the car. And so I just think we got the prediction wrong. It's surprising. I thought that just on...
we got his teammate.
I just thought on pure merit that Hamilton would get it again. But Rosberg, fair play to him as well. Like, away from Hamilton getting issues, when Rosberg's been handed the chance, I feel like last year, if he got handed the same chances, he would have bottled it. But I think he's he's matured a little bit for this year, and he's taken the chances when he gets them a little bit.
There's a danger on this podcast where if we start talking about one driver and praise them, we're going to end up being slewed. So, yeah, I have to, especially me, I always get like absolutely destroyed for speaking about Rosberg in a good way, and then I get destroyed by a Hamilton fan. But honestly,
Even though
this
you're a
season,
Hamilton fan.
yeah, exactly. People just don't get it. And then the moment I start talking about Hamilton in a good way, apparently I'm wrong. But honestly, I think Rosberg is, well, obviously he's got a chance because he's leading the championship. I think that's a bit of a stupid question, but if he has no problem towards the end of this season, he's got it instantly. I think Suzuka was the perfect race for him.
Well, it's how all the reports said it. It's now in Rosberg's hands. Like Lewis,
It's so easy.
Lewis can try as hard as he wants, but at the end of the day, he actually needs Rosberg's engine to go or for him to mess up. So that's what I sort of meant in terms of like, it's not exactly like the lottery, because also there is a big factor of just it is so biased towards Rosberg. Like there's so much going in his favour that it's almost like
he needs a gust of wind.
He almost needs Hamilton
Basically.
almost needs some sort of miracle from the someone that he talks about for him to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it as a whole, I think if you're Rosberg, you're like, you know what, Hatton, Lewis, you can win the last 3 races, mate. I don't need it. I'm all right. You can win it yourself.
Yeah.
Because I just finished second.
There is a danger though if he allows Lewis to win. Then
I think
as a retirement, then he's lost 7 points.
If
whatever it is.
Rosberg goes out and wins Kota, and then just relaxes.
If Rosberg just picks up one more, W, wherever it may be, it's all over.
He wins in Kota, just takes a chill pill, just chills.
And then there's Mexico.
I'm not getting Kota. Like I said, I just think any W.
Well, yeah, any W.
And then the remaining 3.
I think also I do agree with Cal. Like if Hamilton was to maybe get 3 wins in a row, it might be harder for him to then get that last win in the last race.
It's all about momentum.
I think if he does it in these next 2 races, then he can really he can settle his mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I say about momentum, but then again, Rosberg's literally just been like, "Oh, I'm taking it race by race," because then there's no such thing as momentum. But surely there is a little bit, like as much as he can.
Yeah,
sit
like a
there
little
and say,
spring in his step here and there.
Like, "Oh, I've won the last 3 races.
Honestly,
I'm in good form
of course,
at the minute."
Listen, if you give him a lie detector test, the result will come up as bullshit if he actually believes that he does one race at a time. That's bollocks, because he's human.
I think in the moment,
your 3 races are right. You're obviously
truth.
thinking about the prize.
I think he's telling the truth about in the moment during the race and everything. He's just thinking about the race, but maybe going into it, he's like, okay, gotta just keep going. Little spring in his step from last race, got the momentum there, and then when he wins the race, he's like, okay, we're 1 step closer. But I do believe actually that probably in the race, he probably just tries to take his mind off it.
Well, do you know how we always look at drivers' points and everything, like the gaps and everything? Do you reckon drivers actually look at the gaps? Do you reckon
I think if you're in a
actually...
championship, if you're that sort of driver, like you're really methodical about it, I think you would look at it. I think Prost back in the day would have been looking at tables and going, okay, that's the gap there.
The great drivers look at the points. I'll lay you an example. I think Michael Schumacher looked at the points.
He did.
The reason why,
I guess that.
No, but I'll give you an example. Suzuka 2003, last race of the season. He pretty much had one hand on the trophy. What he do was pretty much finish in a solid position. And on the first lap, I can't remember the race exactly, but on the first lap or something like that, he had a puncture or some sort of issue, and he went down to last on the last lap of the Grand Prix. And Kimi Räikkönen was, I think, in the lead, or he's going to win the race. So he had to finish in 8th. Obviously, he knew in his head where he had to be in order to win the championship. So obviously, a driver knows that, and obviously his target was right. By the end of the 50 plus laps, whatever the race is, I've got to be in this position. Yes or yes. I think drivers do know that sometimes.
Well, no,
it'd be interesting to see.
I think in terms of for the last race, I think it's different. I think the last race, you definitely need to know where you need to be, because Vettel knew that in 2012. Whoever, I can't remember his name, his engineer at Red Bull, his old one.
Rocky.
Rocky. There you go. He kept on hearing on the team radio this is good. There's Michael ahead, just pass him. Then we're 2 off, and then okay, we're good here. There might be a safety car. You never know, but we're good here. And the safety car came out. I think it's different. Maybe the last race. Maybe other races.
It's interesting. This is the thing. If they allowed fans to ask these sort of questions, then it would be brilliant.
Like, do you count? Yeah, just I like ask Vettel or something. Are you counting the points between you and Kimi? Do you guys?
No, but Roger from the Times wants to know about the new track surface.
You literally look like someone who'd be asking that question.
Roger, my name's Roger. The Times. Oh, about. I noticed you put your phone up and you've applied a Snapchat filter. Now, could you please explain to us what it is? Well, if you lived in the 21st century.
What's a filter?
What's a filter? Is that something you put in a fag?
Oh,
can you light me up? Spark me, bro. I think that sums up the podcast nice and well there.
I don't think a 60-plus-year-old Roger would say the word "spark me up" and "bro."
Spark me up, bro.
Bro.
Sir.
But yeah, I mean that we.
I think that's our rant about the media.
We started talking about Koto there a little bit, so I guess just going into that. Looking forward to it. I think it should be another good Grand Prix. Usually turns up quite a nice race. Last year, obviously, it was an absolute lit one with the rain. I think honestly,
as your phone wallpaper proves.
I think it will end up being dry probably this weekend. I'm gonna make it. Guess.
Shall I have a little weather?
You could have a little guess. Maybe it might rain. I don't know.
Austin, Texas.
Tyre allocations.
It's just a nice track, and they've gone a little bit softer on the tyre allocations.
Ferrari's gone really aggressive.
A few teams, have gone really like. There's a lot of teams that have gone either end, basically.
Ferrari cars, but that include Haas, have gone for the one medium, all softer tyres.
Right.
Whereas teams like Mercedes and Red Bull, I think, have gone for like 3 mediums.
I think they've got 3 mediums. Yeah, they've gone a complete opposite way. So, what's the weather telling us, Cal?
The weatherman. It says it's just going to be sunny, but then again, we are trying to look at the weather a week in advance, so it can always change. Maybe Matthew .2 might come along or something like that. I'm not so sure. But
yeah,
when was
Matthew didn't make it to Texas?
I know you mentioned briefly a gust of wind. That's a bit more than just a gust of wind.
Gust of wind, yeah.
Tornado, mate, taking Rosberg out the race, pulling him off the track.
That'd be mad.
It's going to send him to Interlagos.
Can you imagine that? Just the air of the F1 kicks in in a little tornado and starts flying because it gets turned upside down.
That'd be madness. But no, I'm looking forward to the race. The person that got pole last year was Rosberg, but Hamilton won. I can't remember last year's race. Was it the good one? It was
the really good one.
No, last year was a gust of wind.
Absolutely.
We might see some sort of sparks into turn 1. We always normally do in a more than 90-degree corner. We saw last year, obviously, Hamilton and Rosberg, so we might see again. But
Callum,
we'll
the important question. What is the track conditions going to be like? How's it going to be the racing line? Is it going to be dusty? Tell us.
Dusty.
Please.
It's going to be nice and dusty. Is Taylor Swift going to come onto the track at turn 1 and flash her tits? I don't know. But honestly, it's hard to predict. We're going to see how it goes. I think we're all looking forward to it because we're all coming off the back of 2015. But I don't think we should get our expectations up too high because we saw of Hungary.
I'm calm.
Drop the other way down.
I'm calm with this thing. I'm going in calm with this.
We've always had the idea that
see how it plays out.
It's one of the better tilt tracks.
I'll see Friday practice, look at the gaps, and then I'll think whether it's going to be a good race.
As a Ferrari fan, you've got to get mildly excited because Ferrari are somewhat close, then drop behind Red Bull and Mercedes and just finish home in 5th and 6th. That's basically what Ferrari are.
I'm not getting my hopes up at all.
I can't. Well, Arav, you can get your hopes up with Jenson Button.
Yeah, fucking podium,
yeah.
Well, hopefully McLaren be a little bit better than it was Japan. It was a very bad circuit for them.
You've been too polite. Let's be honest here.
Shut up. So I think that's pretty much it. I think really we talked about everything. Mark Webber retired from racing.
Bless him.
His final season is this season with Porsche. Solid career.
Yeah, he had a decent little stint in WEC.
I think likeable driver for me. I've enjoyed him and.
I think there's one sentence that sums it up, both literally, figuratively, and all sorts of the way you look at it. Not bad for a number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Simple as
hopefully he won't be a number 2 interviewer on the podium. Hopefully he's just always being the interviewer.
Yeah, I would love that.
He's normally the best.
He's actually really good.
Him or Brundle is the best.
Really good.
Until we get Kai Abel.
Jesus.
And his yellow trousers.
I turned off my stream last race, and like all the German people were tweeting me like, "At least you can turn it off. We get it every race."
He's just so cringy. He's just cringe.
Apparently, all the German viewers hate him.
The guy just looks like a fucking rainbow.
He does look like a rainbow.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's not always
Yeah,
Kaya, but
that's,
just him, Eddie Jordan, Mark Webber, or Brundle, and we're happy. Anyone else can just piss off. Oh no, Coulthard as well. He's not that bad either. But he normally just sucks off any of the Red Bull drivers. He's like, oh my God.
I'll be back.
I think that's going to be it for the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did enjoy it. Let us know what you thought in the comments below about anything we talked about. If you're new around here, then do subscribe to this channel for the podcast. Follow these guys on Twitter and check out their YouTube links in the description. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Delete O's on your fucking dab.